The long-standing crisis between Pakistan and India recently escalated into a large-scale hot war for the first time. India's withdrawal from the Indus Agreement, its attempts to alter the water levels in rivers closely affecting Pakistan, and the convergence of various factors made war inevitable. The fact that both countries possessed nuclear weapons was a significant issue in itself, and the potential outcome of a hot conflict was unclear. After all, on paper, India had one of the world's largest armies. Although Pakistan had a much more modest military force, it stood out in terms of quality. The events that would answer most of the questions in people's minds occurred on the night of May 6 to 7. India launched an air assault on Pakistan with a sudden decision. Breaking news reports highlighted that Indian planes were taking off one after another from their bases and heading towards designated targets. However, the news from the region soon began to change dramatically. Yes, India initiated the attack, but Pakistan not only repelled it, but also managed to inflict significant damage on the other side. We will get to that night, but first, we want to briefly discuss the military capacities of the two countries to better set the context for our narrative. In the current comparative tables created for the two countries, the numbers favor India. But we don't just want to talk about numbers because they don't lead us to the right point. Let's explain the numbers, but we also intend to convey the critical details that remain in the background, based on the saying, the devil is in the details. First and foremost, it is essential to express this clearly. India is the rising power of Asia, both economically and demographically. They allocated a massive budget of approximately $83 billion for their armed forces in 2025. With such a high figure, you might think the main actors were the air forces. Therefore, we want to open a separate parenthesis for the air forces of the two countries. The backbone of the Indian Air Force's combat squadrons is formed by Su-30 Mki aircraft. Su-30 aircraft were developed in the 1990s to replace Su-27 aircraft. India became one of the first customers of the Su-30 aircraft. The Su-30 Mki model was specially designed for India. At India's request, some systems were replaced with French and Israeli-made systems. As a result, these aircraft gained the capability to fire munitions produced by Israel and India. Over 260 Su-30 Mki aircraft are in service in the Indian Air Force's inventory. The second place in the Indian inventory of air platforms is occupied by the Sapika Jaguar attack aircraft, jointly developed by France and England. It is said that there are 113 of these platforms in the inventory. France, England, and Jordan have retired their aging Jaguar aircraft. India has not been able to make a retirement decision for these aircraft. There are 59 of these aircraft, which were modernized in the 2000s, in the inventory. Speaking of MiGs, it is impossible not to mention the veteran MiG-21 aircraft. Another series that India has not been able to retire is the MiG-21. They have 40 of them. Of course, at this point, it would not be wrong to say that French aircraft have left their mark on the Indian inventory. The Air Force has 46 Dassault-produced Mirage 2000 aircraft. These aircraft were modernized in the past. India is considering replacing these aircraft with Rafale aircraft. It was already written that they had 36 Rafales. Rafale and Su-30 Mki aircraft constitute the most modern aircraft of the Indian Air Force. India also has a national aircraft project called Tejas. So far, they have managed to add 36 aircraft to the inventory. It is expected that this number will gradually increase in the future. Pakistan's Air Force, on the other hand, has a very different structure. As we mentioned earlier, the Chinese influence is very evident in them. The JF-17 fighter aircraft, developed together with Beijing, is at the forefront of the process. According to open sources, 156 JF-17s have already entered the inventory. 23 of these aircraft are the Block 3 version carrying AESA radar. The other aircraft are being modernized to this level. We mentioned that Pakistan is significantly behind India in numerical terms. They have a total of 135 Mirage 3 and 5 series aircraft. Some of them have been modernized. However, the rest are expected to be replaced with JF-17s. Like India, Pakistan also uses MiG-21 aircraft. There is also the Chengdu F-7 model, known as the Chinese clone of the MiG-21. There are 53 of these in the inventory. However, it is said that they will soon be replaced with JF-17s. Until the US embargo, we mentioned that Pakistan could actually buy aircraft from there as well. They have 75 F-16s. These aircraft were procured in the 1980s. In the following years, when Pakistan wanted to buy new ones of these aircraft, they faced an embargo. Over time, the Pakistan-US line softened a bit. The the Washington administration delivered 18 F-16s to Pakistan in 2008. Additionally, nearly 500 al-Marsoos missiles were procured. Pakistan could not use these aircraft against India. F-16 fighter jets and Chinese-made fighter jets could not operate at the same bases. The use of al-Marsoos missiles was also subject to U.S. supervision. Let's open a short parenthesis about al-Marsoos missiles at this point. One of the newest aircraft they have is the Chinese-made J-10C. These aircraft are also known as the J-10CE because they are the export model. Pakistan ordered 36 of these aircraft. This purchase was actually a response to India. They ordered Rafale from France. Pakistan also received 20 J-10CEs from China. Rafale and J-10CE are actually the most important topics on the agenda. As you know, it was claimed that Pakistan shot down an Indian Rafale. Although the Indian side claimed that this was disinformation, the wreckage photos from the region proved Pakistan right. It became clear that Pakistan shot down the French aircraft with Chinese-made aircraft. Thus, France's Rafale fighter jet was shot down in the air for the first time. In fact, both Rafale and its Chinese rival have AESA radars, which are more difficult to jam and detect. It is claimed that the French can see a target with a diameter of 3 square meters from 200 kilometers away. However, some analysts believe this figure is exaggerated. The Chinese J-10CE fighter jet has a different type of AESA radar. They also claim that the radar range is between 180 and 200 kilometers. The Rafale radar can track 40 targets. It can send missiles to 8 of the targets it tracks. In its Chinese rival, it is said that the radar can track between 15 to 20 targets and engage 4 or 6 of them. The French Rafale can carry over 9 tons of weapons on 14 weapon stations. The Chinese J-10CE can load 6 tons of munitions on 11 weapon stations. Of course, not only the aircraft, the advanced seeker head. This allows it to perform very well, even in very challenging conditions. No matter how long the range of a missile is, there is an unchanging rule in aviation. The one who sees the enemy first strikes first. The fate of air combat is somewhat determined by the pilot's ability. Therefore, we also need to compare Pakistan and India from this perspective. The Pakistan Air Force places great importance on the training of its pilots. Pakistani pilots conduct training in very different geographies around the world. As you may recall, we mentioned that there were some restrictions imposed by the USA on the use of F-16s. One of these was training activities. Pakistan can only conduct training with F-16s in countries permitted by the USA. Turkey is among the few countries allowed pilots. On the contrary, it is an aircraft they have been training with for many years. India, on the other hand, does not have first-hand information about the J-10C and JF-17 used by Pakistan. This situation brings a significant advantage for Pakistan on the battlefield. As we come to the end of our content, we want to briefly open a parenthesis to the night of May 6 to 7, when everyone thought, is there another war? Indian fighter jets took off to hit 9 different points. Munitions purchased from different countries, primarily France and Poland, were loaded onto Indian aircraft. Additionally, Israeli-made kamikaze drones and cruise missiles were to be used in this operation. India thought of this night as the perfect time to test new weapons. The operation named Sindoor started in such an environment. The Pakistan Air Force made an unexpected move and intervened with Indian aircraft while they were still in their own airspace. Within just a few minutes, 5 Indian aircraft were shot down. Dozens of air vehicles shared a similar fate. The news that 5 Indian aircraft were shot down and the engine used in Rafale aircraft emerged. The media coverage was not limited to this. The K-36 ejection seat used in Su-30 and MiG-29 aircraft was also captured. From the news, it was understood that the aircraft were hit, but the pilots managed to eject at the last moment. The possibility that Rafale aircraft might have been shot down also stirred France. Rafale carried the highly advanced electronic warfare suite Spectra. A French intelligence official speaking to the international media shared the information that Pakistan had shot down 2 or 3 French aircraft. At least one of these aircraft was a Rafale, and the other was a Mirage 2000.
Neutral sources confirmed 6 Indian aircraft were shot by Pakistan Air Force. 3 of these were Rafale. Main dispute between these nuclear power countries an issue of Kashmir which is not resolved by UN since 1947. Both countries fought more than 6 wars but the issue is still unresolved.